I'm going to do something that you almost never see a game developer do. Admit that we've made some mistakes. We were very ambitious with Red Orchestra 2 and were pushing the envelope of first-person shooter gameplay. But we went too far too fast and shipped a game that had more issues than it should have had. Issues such as performance, bugs, unpolished features, high ping and lag all made it into the initial release. So even though the game had sold well and had won awards like PC Gamer's Multiplayer First-Person Shooter of the Year, we weren't going to be happy until our customers were happy. We had a goal of making a game that was true to the roots of the original Red Orchestra while expanding the player base with more accessibility. What we learned after the launch, though, was that the game was still too hardcore for most casual action gamers, and the hardcore fans of the original game thought it wasn't hardcore enough. So while we had gained some new fans, we hadn't reached all the players that we were trying to reach. We decided to address the issues by first going back to our mod team roots. As we grew from a mod team to a full development studio, a lot of our development happened behind closed doors, hidden away until it was just the right time to tell the press and the world about it. This is smart corporate PR, but leaves fans of the game out of the equation. What we lost from our mod days was this collaborative development, where we would do regular releases to the fans throughout the development, and then make adjustments to the game along the way. This was exciting for them because they got to see the progress as it happened, and they got to be a part of the development process, and the game was better for it. So when we went to make the Game of the Year Edition free content pack for Red Orchestra 2, we decided to go back to our roots and do it just like we did as a mod team.
We added an open beta, which is available to all owners of Red Orchestra 2. The beta allows us to work closely with the community, taking in their feedback and iterating to provide them with the gameplay experience that they want.
For months we've been hard at work on the first free content for Red Orchestra 2, the Game of the Year Edition. The content pack features an amazing new map called Mamia Kurgan, as well as new and modified game modes that bridge the gap between what action gamers are used to and the tactical gameplay in Red Orchestra, as well as modes that cater to fans of the original game.
The new level Mamia Kurgan was designed to give players a longer range fighting experience than they were accustomed to. At the same time, the map allows for all sorts of playstyles. With Mamia, the community is going to find an intense map that gives them the freedom to play hardcore.
One of our goals with Mamia was to convey how cold and desolate the hill had become throughout the battle. We littered the field with destroyed buildings and vehicles, then went for a cool color palette on the exterior to contrast the buildings burning in the distance. A warm, home-like glow was used for the interior to show that the soldiers had spent months in these bunkers. On the content side of things, we added a whole new trench set complete with destructible pillboxes that the community can use in custom maps.
For our first major update to Red Orchestra 2, we not only wanted to add new content and game modes, but also increase performance and refine existing gameplay features to a new level of polish.
One of the things we learned from the fans after the release was that many of them thought the game was too hardcore, not hardcore enough, or just not enough like the original game, which is why we decided to add two new gameplay modes to the arsenal, Action Mode and Classic Mode. With Classic Mode, our goal was to return to the roots of what fans of the original Red Orchestra had fallen in love with. So now with Classic Mode, we've blended a lot of the great gameplay innovations in Red Orchestra with the tactical and edgy gameplay from the first game. With Action Mode, gamers can now experience that Red Orchestra gameplay without having to make such a huge jump from what they are used to, featuring a crosshair, easier aiming and toned down recoil, reduced damage, and less restricted access to a wide range of weaponry. Action Mode is the perfect first step for players into the world of Red Orchestra. We've had a lot of players clamoring for more realism in Red Orchestra 2, so we've made a lot of additions to the realism gameplay mode to ramp up the realism even further. We've enhanced the bullet ballistics to do less damage over distance and when penetrating objects in the world. Players will now stop sprinting when getting shot in the legs, and bandaging now takes much longer in this mode. The effects of suppression from being shot at are greatly increased, with suppressing fire being a much more viable tactic and having a much greater impact on gameplay. These are just a few of the things we've done to enhance the realism of Red Orchestra 2 for the Game of the Year Edition. Beyond additional content and features, the Game of the Year Edition also includes refined and improved gameplay across the board, vehicle improvements, and way better performance and polish. We listened to the community and, based on their feedback, refined and tweaked almost every major feature in the game.
Refinement of several gameplay features such as lockdown, overtime, spawn protection, and spawn on squad leader result in a more enjoyable online gameplay experience. In this update, we've added an option for client-side hit detection. This has been one of the community's most requested features. What it allows for is more consistent gunplay across servers regardless of ping for the users.
Based on community feedback, we've tuned MGs to be easier to use and more effective at long range. MGs are finally the most devastating infantry weapon in Red Orchestra 2.
The tanks have gotten a lot of love for this release, with Tank AI in particular being a big focus. We always wanted the player to have the experience of being inside the tank with their own AI crew, reacting and behaving realistically. We discovered two issues though. The AI's aiming was too darn good and was bullseyeing players at 200 meters, and most players don't like it when their tank just decides to do things they didn't tell it to do. So now AI gunnery has been completely revised to be a bit less accurate than human players, but still useful to play with. We also now have a default mode for tanks that we call player ordered gunnery only. This means now tanks will only decide to shoot at people if the human player in the tank orders them to. Finally, we made a lot of refinements to the functionality of the tanks, including getting them a lot more balanced when combating each other.
We've added an option for players to choose the exact weapon upgrade variant that they want. For example, a player might find that the MKB with a scope is great for long-distance fighting, but much better without it for close-quarters combat.
One of the key things we wanted to improve since the release of the game was the performance, so that people with a wide range of hardware could enjoy it. This required a considerable overhaul of the game's underpinning.
We've been cleaning house in the bug department. This update alone, we've addressed more than 50 major bugs.
At the end, we completely revamped the dynamic shadows in the game, optimized the player animations, changed the way the UI was rendered, optimized maps by combining meshes to reduce draw calls, and even made core engine changes like the way the frames are smoothed.
Winning the multiplayer first-person shooter Game of the Year award from PC Gamer was a great honor. It also highlighted to us that despite the bumps along the road, the game had taken some big risks to innovate and really made some great strides in pushing the multiplayer first-person shooter genre forward. And now with the Game of the Year edition, the game is even better. And for the hit World War II history buffs out there, I'll say this. The initial release of Red Orchestra 2 was our Dunkirk. This release will be our Normandy. We've regrouped, and now we're ready for our counterattack. The life of this game is just starting. With more free content packs coming, and a rising storm on the horizon, the game is just getting started.